Good morning and welcome to Unity of Modesto. This is a bit of a challenge this morning because I set up the live streaming. So let's think positive that it's working. And we hope that you're tuning in. This is supposed to be going live streaming on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can pick it up later. I'd like to start with the prayer of faith. God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God walks beside me, guides my way through every moment of the day. I now am wise, I now am true, patient, kind, and loving too. All things I am, can do, and be through Christ, the truth that is in me. God is my health. I can't be sick. God is my strength, unfailing quick. God is my all. I know no fear, since God and love and truth are here. Happy Mother's Day to everyone who has ever been a mother or done any mothering, and that can include a lot of people. This morning's daily word has an affirmation that is, I honor all mothers and am grateful for their love. And what I want to say is, as you listen to this, think of a mother, a stepmother, a grandmother, an aunt, maybe an uncle, whoever nurtured you and supported you. I bless my mother, and I am grateful to her for the gift of nurturing love. Whether my mother is still with me or has passed on, her love still lives in my heart, and her wisdom continues to inspire me. I am grateful for the many ways my mother has blessed me. I also feel deep appreciation and tender affection for all those who have blessed me with the selfless gift of motherly love. I would not be who I am without them. Through the living example of the mothers in my life, I pass along the blessings of a mother's care and devotion as I embrace opportunities to share an affirming thought, an encouraging word, a smile, or a simple act of kindness. I honor my mother and all mothers as I share the love of God that never fails. From Proverbs 31:26, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. And now let's get quiet for a few moments of meditation. We know that right now there's a lot of stress out there in the world, and sometimes in us. So let's just set that aside. We can always pick it up again later. And let's not be thinking about the anxieties or the fears or the what ifs. Let's quietly go within to a sanctuary within us that is sustaining us. Let us go to that spot where there is energy and healing, like a spring that bubbles up and it never quits. It's always there for us. That is the Christ consciousness, the God expressing in us and sustaining us through challenges, healing us, and giving us inspiration for ways that we can cope, ways that we can reach out and cheer others, ways that we can keep ourselves going one day at a time. And let us contemplate this, that it's always giving to us, never ending, no lack, always there. And let us feel grateful that at any time in the future, when we feel stressed, we can quietly turn within. This morning's title is Who's the Boss? And when I thought of this title, I kept picturing in my mind, the plane, the plane. You remember when that short man would be yelling about that? And that's a phrase that takes us back in TV land a long ways. And the funny thing is that I hadn't realized that this was going to be Mother's Day when I'd be sharing this. And of course, my first thought, who's the boss, Mom? Who runs the house? I do anyway. But when I'm asking who's the boss within you, I'm asking what you have told your subconscious mind to create in your life. Our subconscious mind is like a garden, and our words and thoughts are seeds. What we plant, we reap. The farmer, the sower of the seed is you, your conscious mind in control. Your awake, aware, conscious mind is the boss. And your subconscious is a server. It's the subjective, subconscious, like a subject or a servant. It is the genie saying, yes, master. Okay, you're the boss. And at first, that awareness seems terrific. I'll tell my subconscious to get on the ball, make me healthy, happy, wealthy, energetic, talented, and it says, okay. The trickier part is every message I send is to be obeyed. And what percentage of my time am I saying health messages, and what percentage of my time am I focused on illness? I may do 3 minutes of affirmations for good health and then spend 30 minutes on the phone telling someone about everyone I know who's sick and what their symptoms are and how their families don't do enough for them and how expensive their medications are, how much the insurance company doesn't pay for, how the doctor dismissed their symptoms, etc., etc., etc. A long tirade of ain't it awful? And poor us, the system is against us, with lots of energy and focused emotions and feelings. What my subconscious heard was 3 minutes of health, and 30 minutes of sick, sick, sick. It pays attention to the focus and energy, the feelings. It doesn't sort out that you want to be healthy and are just sort of fascinated by or focused on, maybe energized by gossiping about other people's illnesses and talking about other people being sick. The subconscious doesn't judge, sort out, eliminate, and choose. It is really, really basic. It reacts to what you put into it. 3 minutes of health and 30 minutes of sick stuff. Where's the balance in your messages, your orders to your subconscious? It got the message that you're quite strongly taken with illness, a truly fascinating subject. And it says, okay, you're the boss. If you focus on illness and then wonder why you don't feel so good, look in the mirror of your mind. If you want to let me know that someone needs prayer or a visit in the hospital, all I need to know is a name, time, address, and that the person needs support. I was trained, and prayer pilgrims, unity teachers, ministers, all have been trained to ask for the name only. We know the power of our thoughts and words, and we do not want our focus to be on the illness. We want to know who needs a prayer, and then we pray, focusing on the good, the healthy, the highest results, and not on the symptoms or the situations. Proverbs 23:7 tells us, for as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And the word heart is an ancient word meaning the subconscious mind. In simple language, it is saying, As you think and feel, so are you in all departments of your life. Your subconscious mind is conditioned by your beliefs and your habits, your habitual thinking and speaking. Are you in the habit of watching TV shows featuring doctors, diseases, injuries? Do you like to discuss with friends, family, and neighbors all their illnesses, symptoms, and medications? Have you watched every single show about the coronavirus? Have you read all of those lists of coronavirus, this, that, and the other thing? I can't believe it, because every morning I get 2 different news lists of articles on my phone, and I have picked them up and gone through the list, and it's coronavirus, no, and I just haven't had a thing to read because they're all about the coronavirus. What is in your mind and your heart with such habits if we're stuck on those? And if every sentence that you think or speak is a command, you're the boss, what is your subconscious saying yes to? Life is full of problems. Okay, yes, you the boss. Coming right up, lots of problems. All I do is work too hard and no one notices. Okay, you the boss, more work and no volunteers to help you. Coming right up. Stop and listen and realize you are the commander in charge. How do you view the past? And by comparison, our current world right now? What are some of the things that we say in comparison? Things aren't what they used to be. Appliances don't last as long as they used to. Young kids aren't polite anymore. Do you program your mind and yourself and your life for a pity party by comparison? Or set yourself up to be depressed by the state of the world by focusing on all the negatives? You're in charge, and the bad things you fret about may be true. There are facts. And those will be more so as you give them power. It's like throwing fuel on the fire to focus on those negative things. And it is also true that since modern humans emerged about 200,000 years ago, last year, 2019, was probably the year in which children were least likely to die. Adults were least likely to be illiterate, and people were least likely to suffer excruciating and disfiguring diseases. Every single day in recent years, another 325,000 people received their first access to electricity. Aren't we thankful we have electricity? And how about some nice positive thoughts? And I'm glad I do not have to build that dam and run the wires from the generators for many miles. And each day, more than 200,000 people got piped water for the first time. Now that's essential for good health. And how about thanks that I don't have to run all those pipes from the reservoir? There are good things to focus on. Perhaps the greatest challenge for anyone to ever experience is the loss of a child. And that used to be common. Historically, almost half of all humans died in childhood. I can remember reading about cultures that did not name a child until they were 2 years old because most of them didn't live that long. As recently as 1950, 27%, that's almost a third, of all children still died by age 15. Now that figure's dropped to 4%. That's a good focus for gratitude. The news media today and the humanitarian world focus so relentlessly on the bad news that they leave the public believing that every trend is going in the wrong direction. Have you ever seen so many numbers when they get into the pandemic? How many people are sick and how many people died? I'd like them to tell us how many people had it and didn't have any problems. How many people are still alive? I've never even had it at all. It's about 125,000 people are just fine for each person that dies. That's a different percentage, isn't it? And these are all powerful messages to our subconscious. A majority of Americans say in polls that the share of the world living in poverty is increasing, and yet one of the trends for the last 50 years has been a huge reduction in global poverty. As recently as 1981, 42% of the population endured extreme poverty, which is defined by the United Nations as living on less than $2 a day. That portion has plunged to less than 10% of the world's population now. Every day for a decade, newspapers could have carried the headline, "Another 170,000 people moved out of extreme poverty yesterday." Why don't we see headlines like that? Or if you want a higher threshold, the headline could have been, "The number of people living on more than $10 a day increased by 245,000 yesterday." Good old days with more poverty? And when our country needed to help people experiencing job loss or going through some aspect of dealing with coronavirus, all of a sudden, like this, billions of dollars. What they do, have a room somewhere with a whole bunch of money stacked up in it? Billions of dollars, that with a B, the billions of dollars. Boom, here, we can help out. Why wasn't it done sooner? Many of the people moving up out of poverty are still poor, of course, but because they are less poor, they are less likely to remain illiterate or starve. People often think that famine is routine, but the last famine recognized by the World Food Program struck just one part of one state in South Sudan and lasted for just a few months in 2017. Now, we do pay attention when something like that happens, and the reason we notice it, is so we can prevent it happening again and we can help out, but we don't focus on it. Diseases like polio, leprosy, river blindness, and elephantiasis are on the decline, and global efforts have turned the tide on AIDS. I can remember my family losing a cousin of mine when he was 12 to leukemia. And at that time, there was nothing that could be done for him except blood transfusions. My parents donated blood, as did many family members, but he didn't last long. By comparison, right now, I know people who've been living with leukemia for over 12 years. What a difference that would have made in the past. Sounds like an improvement over the good old days. And when we're faced with a new virus, it's not really brand new, but when faced with something new, how quickly did scientists and laboratories move? Every day you turn on the TV, they're coming up with another way to either have a vaccine or testing. We never, in the past, would not have moved that fast. It has been a phenomenally quick, efficient response, and that's wouldn't have happened in the good old days. Half a century ago, a majority of the world's people had always been illiterate. Now we're approaching 90% adult literacy. And there have been particularly large gains in girls' education, setting us up for great changes in the world as these young women grow up. We need to be aware that negative news that leads to pessimism about the world is paralyzing rather than empowering. Excessive pessimism can leave people feeling not only hopeless, but helpless. We are not helpless. When faced with a pandemic, this big old Goliath, we can handle it. How much intelligence does it take to put on a mask, wash your hands, keep your distance? You don't need a medical degree for a piece of cloth, soap and water, a little distance. We are not helpless. And when we look back at any of these areas and realize that progress has been made, and progress in many areas is still ongoing. Look for the good. That's a spur to do even more, to do better, rather than looking at all the negatives and feeling hopeless and helpless. So as I've been working on this talk, I decided I need to work on it myself too. And there was one morning I woke up with sniffle and sneezing, and I looked out and I looked at the tree in the backyard with all the little white flowers, and I thought, that tree and those flowers are God. And I'm an expression of God. Can God be allergic to God? No. So I want to erase any thoughts of allergies. So I started asking, what's in my subconscious? Well, the first thing that popped in was that the night before, I'd been watching a Hallmark movie and I was all relaxed. It's one of those fluffy, feel-good movies. All relaxed, my guards down, and bingo, up popped an allergy ad for medicine I hadn't seen before. I thought, what's my first silly thought? Oh, I ought to try that medicine. So the next morning, I woke up with itchy eyes. I never have itchy eyes. Powerful subconscious. Who's the boss? And then I thought, okay, what's in race consciousness right now? Well, lots of allergy information. They tell you in the newspaper and on the news all the pollen count, and people are all talking about their allergies and sniffling and sneezing. So that goes into my subconscious. And then I asked myself, okay, what else might be in my subconscious? And I remembered something from childhood that I hadn't thought about in I don't know how long. And that was when I was a little kid and found these pretty yellow fluffy flowers on an acacia tree, picked them and brought them home to Mom. Mom, look! She grabbed them and threw them and screamed at me, are you trying to kill your father? No, he's the nice one. I love my dad. I wouldn't want to do. And then I got a screaming lecture about hay fever. They didn't call it allergies back then. It was hay fever. But all those things influence my mind and my reactions. So I want to find them. I want to negate them, erase them, and work with my subconscious to get rid of allergies. Anytime we're trying to make a change like this, it begins with positive messages to our subconscious, positive news and positive attitudes shared with friends and family. And nowadays, those are shared by text and email, phone call. So the good old days, how about we focus on the good new future? How about waking up the power of our mind and our subconscious servant and practice programming our minds for good? So let's consider a three-step process that can show us, as a person imagines and feels, so is he. And this is real super simple. Number one is to find a quiet place and turn off the TV, no news. Turn off the computer and turn off the stupid phone. Don't tell me it's a smartphone. Turn it off. And then you get real still within and enter into a relaxed, drowsy state, just like I was watching the Hallmark movie, peaceful and receptive as you prepare for the second step. And during the second step, what you do is use a very brief phrase that can be easily remembered, and you repeat it over and over again. You might want to repeat a phrase such as, I am God's child, inheriting only perfect health. Thank you, Myrtle Fillmore. Or you might want to repeat, God is in me now, bringing to me that which I need. And that's what you need in your personal life. It's up to you. Then you repeat this aloud, which is why you want to get away from other people, for just 5 minutes, as it sinks into the subconscious. When you repeat something, you reach a point of stopping the resistance to it. First time you say it, sometimes there's another little voice up there that says, oh, no, you aren't. So you just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until it soaks in. The third thing is, just before you go to sleep in the evening, imagine you have a friend in front of you and you're telling them about your good health or your progress in some area, an inspiration you've had, whatever it is that you're working on bringing into your life. Imagine them smiling and telling you, congratulations. Picture that friend being totally supportive, smiling and happy for you. Feel that loving support. Take in the wonderful feeling of success and then drift off to sleep. You choose your focus, make it positive, and add your personal instructions so that your mind turns to and holds these positive thoughts for health, wealth, compassion, kindness, love, understanding, inspiration. And work on increasing the percentage of the time that you emphasize your healthy, successful life for yourself and the world around you, for the present and for the future. After all, you're the boss. Thank you, and thank you for finding us, whether it's YouTube or Facebook. And please share with your friends, especially your church family friends, that we can be found on Facebook and YouTube. I spoke with someone this week who didn't realize that that was a way of finding church and getting recharged again. So share the information, please. And you can send in your requests for prayers. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can get online and send an email to the church. You can also donate online. There's a donate button. If you want to mail in either a prayer request or your donation, our address here is Unity Church, 2467 Veneman, that's with a V like victory, Veneman Avenue, Modesto, California. And the zip is 95356. And we appreciate your support. We need your support so we can keep on going here until we can all be back together again physically. And even when we come back together, it's going to be a little bit different because we will be practicing a bit of social distancing. And it's going to be a while before we can give good physical hugs. So here's a virtual hug. One of those and one of these to all of you. And I'd like to close with the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. Thank you.